Good morning. Sometimes I have cases that it's hard for me to get my head around. I have a particular case that I just wanted to share something about. I normally don't share much about cases. I don't share anything about cases. But in this one, I think I can share it in such a way that that'll be appropriate. Who knows? Maybe I'll hear about it otherwise. But I have this crazy case. You ever hear a story about somebody's crazy spouse or ex-spouse or ex-wife or whatever, and you're like, that's just crazy? I mean, you can't even believe the story. Well, this is one of those. I have a client who is a really, really solid guy. But he unfortunately married someone who wasn't solid. He had had a past of drug abuse. She had had a past of drug abuse. He was clean. He thought she was clean. Turned out that she relapsed during their marriage. And it just, the insanity that ensued would be hard to describe. But suffice it to say that during their estrangement, in an effort to try to get a strategic advantage in a situation involving the custody of the children, this person falsely accused my client of breaking into her house and raping her. Now, to say that this was a false accusation would be an understatement. If you saw the mountain of documentary, video, location style evidence, there is no way this ever occurred. My client has no history of violence, and this did never occur. It was clearly a fabrication. In fact, his record has been completely expunged, and law enforcement, looked at potentially, doing something about the false allegations, but they decided ultimately not to. That in and of itself is repugnant. The idea that a person would claim that another person raped them when it didn't actually occur, that's just a brutal thing. It's a disservice to people who are really raped, and it's obviously a profound disservice to the person who didn't actually do any raping. But this is what happened. But believe it or not, that's not the worst part of the story. The worst part of the story is that this person who made the false allegation against my client, her sister is a local news anchor woman, okay? And the sisters apparently worked together on this. Guess who made the 911 call about the rape that never occurred? The news anchor woman. Guess who filled out the police report on behalf of the sister? The news anchor woman. A news anchor woman who knew or should have known that her sister was suffering from drug addiction and drug use, and was prone to and had a history of being dishonest. Well, the shocking thing is that the only news station to run a story regarding my client's arrest, you guessed it, was the news station for the anchor woman of the sister who made the false allegation. And in their news story, they said they got a big picture of my client in a mugshot, and they say, deputies say this individual broke into this woman's house and raped her, sexually assaulted her. Deputies never said that. The only person that ever said that was the news anchor woman herself, in the 911 call and in the police report that she filled out. Can you imagine the impact of that lie on my client's business as a realtor? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, that guy right now is in a courtroom today, September 15th, in Lee County. That divorce is still going on. That same lie is being perpetuated in a courtroom despite abundant evidence that it never occurred. The attack never occurred. My client still has custody of the children because of the investigation that DCF undertook to figure out who was the whack job and who wasn't the whack job. I'm just asking if you see this and this. If you see this video and you're moved to, would you just pray just for justice and for discernment on the part of the judge this morning? Just that this spirit of lie and deception and violence to truth would just end. It's just disinformation and misinformation and what people will do in order to advance their own selfish interests that are themselves just demonic and evil. It's just mind-blowing to me where we are right now. But this particular situation is terrible. The children that my client has been raising on his own, they have significant handicaps. He's a wonderful father, and he's under a demonic attack. And I'm just asking that you would lift him up in prayer. You don't have to know his name. You lift up the prayer with the intentionality, and Holy Spirit knows who you're talking about. So I appreciate it. God bless you guys.